In this tutorial, I want us to look at migrations and relationships in Laravel. So I want us to see how we are going to create database migrations that have relationships in the Laravel framework. So this is something that troubles many beginner programmers, especially in Laravel. They don't know how to create relationships, and therefore they end up creating migrations here that don't have any relationships. And therefore this tutorial or this course is going to help you know how you're going to do relationships for your next project. So here I have a new installation and I have a migration here. This one has been created by the Laravel auth command, and I want us to imagine that we are building a blog application. So we need another table or another migration that is going to handle our posts table, and therefore I want to go to my terminal here and open a different screen. Let me pull it over, and then let me just add the font slightly so that you are able to see. So I make this something like 25 and select that. Yeah, okay. So here I'm going to be writing an artisan command that is going to create my migration. So php artisan make and then migration, and then I'll say create posts table. All right, I think I misspelled something. Oh, sorry, I am not in my project folder, so let me head there quickly. HTML, and then I have to do this. Is a project that I did when I was doing my Laravel full course, so you can find it on YouTube. And then I'll just run this, make migration, and it is successful. Migration has been created. And therefore when I go to this folder, I will find that I have a new table here, a new migration here called create posts table. When I open it, I find that it is fresh, and therefore this is the logic here. I want to create a posts table that are related to the users table. So I want every post that is posted here related. I create a relationship between that post and our user. Therefore this is what I'm going to do. So I will of course have a table, and then I'm going to have a string. This one is for the post body, and then maybe I also need this is going to be text because it's going to be something some large text, and then I will have a string here for string for the post title, something like that. And then maybe this one I can make it 100 characters long, and this, none of this can be nulled. And then this is where we are going to write our relationship to our users table. So this is how we do it. You do table, and then you have to tell it that this one is a foreign key, foreign F-O-R-E, foreign key, and then you are going to tell it where, or this one you can just give it a name, like I will call mine user ID. So there's a foreign key user ID, which is references, which references user. This one now you have to give it the user ID. So if you come to the users table here, let me go to the migration not table, you see that the primary key to this table is called ID. So whatever is here, if you call this user ID, or if it is ID, like for my case it's ID, this ID is what is going to be referenced here. So references ID, and then you have to tell it where it references. So this one is on users, and this is the name of the table. Okay, so sorry about that. This is what we are telling this thing: table foreign key user ID, and then this one references ID on users table, and then you tell it what to do on delete and on update actions. So on update. Look at the camel keys here. On update, what do I want to do? I want to maybe cascade this. So these ones, you are going to choose the action you want to do here. If you wanted to ignore, if you wanted to cascade, or if you wanted to set null. Sometimes this one you can delete. Sometimes you want it to set null, for instance, if that is possible for your case. So I want to quickly again explain what I have done here. Table foreign key user ID. This one references the ID on the user's table, and then I want to tell it on update cascade, and then on delete cascade. So what happens here is when a user updates the user's table, this ID will automatically be updated on this table. And when a user is deleted, all the posts related to that user are deleted. Of course, we don't want posts to be hanging on the system without the user. And that is how you create my relationships in Laravel. So I want to go ahead to my terminal and I want to run this migration so that we see what we are creating here, what we have created. If we check our environment file here, we see that we are using the Laravel to do table. And so when we go to our database, I mean the Laravel to do database, not table. The database is Laravel to do. And so when we go to our phpMyAdmin here, we see that there is a database here called Laravel to do, and it doesn't have any tables. So let us migrate our tables, and hopefully everything will work as we expect. So at this one and migrate, and when we enter, this table has been created, this one has been created, and then we have a problem. Access violation. What is it telling us? Column user ID doesn't exist on table. So yes, this is because we did not create the user ID on this table. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have this user ID on the posts table. So how do we do that? We have a table here, and this one, notice that this table Laravel now uses the big increments, and therefore you cannot just call this integer. It will not work. It has to be big integer. This is something that troubled me when I was doing migrations for the first time, and therefore please make sure that this one use big integer. It's not integer. If you use integer here, it will not work. It will throw an error. So make sure that that one is a big integer, and then you want this field to be called, I'm going to close these things, really annoying. So this one, I'm going to call it user ID. All right, remember this is the field we are relating with the ID of the user's table. And then there are a few things you need to do here. Here you need to add the false and then true, and then the next thing you need to do here is to tell that this one is unsigned. Okay, and then after that you are going to tell it that this one is also an index. If you don't add this thing is not going to work. So make sure that you have the index function at the end of this. And then when we save that, I want us to go to this table and I want us to delete all of them so that we can migrate them again. So delete, our table is now empty, and now we have a user ID which is related to that, and now we can go ahead and clear this, and then we run our migration again. That one has ran, that one has ran, that one has ran, and we are successful. Now when we head over to our table, here we see that we have a posts table and a users table. If you go to the designer, you realize that users table is related to the posts table. This is the one-to-many relationship. So one user can have many posts. Now this is something I want you to imagine, because I faced this problem one time and it really gave me problems. Imagine that you have a comments table, and so let us go ahead and create another migration, php artisan make migration, and then create something like comments table. Okay, so we have comments table. Now imagine that you added this migration comments before posts, and you know that comments table is related to the post, so every post can have many comments. All right, so we are going to have here, I can copy some of these things. So copy this text, put it here, and then this one is going to be comment body. We need to have a comment body, and then we want to create our migration here. I'm going to copy this so that we can save some time, and paste it here. And then this one is going to be post ID, and this is going to be related to that, and it's going to reference ID on our posts table. And then of course, when you delete a post, delete its comments. We don't want it to remain hanging on the system. Now when we delete our table, when we delete our database tables here, all of them, let me just delete all of them again, and our table is now empty. We don't have any tables, our database is empty. And then we run our migration again. This migration is going to succeed, hopefully. Comments table is being created, and it has been created. So when we come to our designer, you notice that we have relationships created. Well, our user is related to the post table, and then posts are related to the comments table, one to many, and then one to many. Now this is where the problem comes. Supposing you created the comments table before you created posts table. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this code in the posts table, and then I will delete it, and then I'm going to go ahead and create that posts table again. So I'll create the post migration, and then I'll come to this, and I'll paste that. Now notice that we have our comments table before we have a post table. This is a scenario that is possible in some instances. Now I want us to delete our database table here, tables, all of them again, and try to run that migration. And you will notice that we will have a serious problem. So let me clear this, and then I try to run migration. Success, and we have a problem. And what problem is this? Cannot add foreign key. Sorry about that, guys. So cannot add foreign key constraint, alter table comments, add constraint, comments, post ID. It's a foreign key. So we are trying to add a foreign key. When you come here, we have users table, we have comments, and we don't have posts. And now already the system is trying to add a foreign key to the posts table, which doesn't exist, because these migrations are ran from up downwards. So it ran this successfully, this one successfully, this one successfully, but then when it came to add a migration, this migration here, sorry, not a migration, but there is this relationship here, it failed because the posts table doesn't exist yet. So how do you address this problem? This is how I like to do it. I come here, let me clear this, and then I create another migration, but this one I like to call it, create something like, you can call it maybe Galilite, maybe tables. Okay, tables. And this migration is going to contain all my other migrations. So I don't need this, and I also don't need this. I don't need this either. And then here I'm going to add my migrations in a sequence that I want them created. So I want my posts table to be created first. So I'll put that here. And then of course I want to put the schema drop if exists, because I don't want it to hang if someone has deleted. And then after that I'm going to get my comments table. So I'll get this schema, cut it, and then I'll go to my Galarites table. I will put it after this, so put it there, and then I will get my the schema drop if exists, and I will put it. Remember, this one has to come before the posts. You want comments to be deleted before posts. And then I can just go ahead and delete this file, and then I can also delete that file. So now I have one file that contains all my tables. Even if you had 100 tables, you can just do it this way and it is going to work. All right, you can add it like this and it's going to work. So let us go ahead and try to run the migration one more time. Drop this, and now our table doesn't have anything. Let us run the migration, migrate, and users table created, password table created, Gallarite tables are being created, and now we have created the Gallarite tables. It has succeeded. When we come here, we have our database tables, and when we check the designer, we see that our tables have been created and the migrations applied successfully. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next tutorial.